We've all had a trailer or borrowed a trailer from somebody that had bad wiring. And as soon as you hook up to it, brake lights don't work, or only one side works, or something is not right. And nobody wants to go down the road and get pulled over by the police and receive a ticket for wiring on a trailer that doesn't even belong to you. Now, whether you borrow a trailer from a friend of yours that you just bought your dream classic car that you're going to restore, or you're hauling a four-wheeler or side-by-side, or you make a living doing it every day, if you're a hotshot driver, or doesn't matter. If you have a trailer, or if you have a friend that has a trailer, and that trailer has lighting problems, there is a very good chance that these right here are your problem. These are made by 3M. These are called 557s. That's the part number for them. There's 553, 559, so on and so forth. They come in red, yellow, blue, based on the wiring gauge that you're going to be using it for. Every trailer, commercial built trailer I have ever seen, whether it's an enclosed trailer, whether it's a 40-foot gooseneck dovetail, whether it's a 5x10 lawnmower hauling trailer, doesn't matter. If you buy a commercial trailer, there is an extremely good chance that this is what is holding your wiring together. Electrically, it will work, and it will work for some time, depending on where you live and how much you use this trailer. Enclosed trailers are somewhat susceptible to it because the wiring splices are normally made inside an enclosed area that's not underneath the trailer and able to get rain and road salt, depending on where you live, and other things on the wiring. This is your problem. Every trailer I've ever worked on, every trailer that I have ever rebuilt or rewired for someone, these right here are always the problem. Normally the wiring is good from the tongue back to the lights, but where they splice the lights to go from one side to the other, they use these. If you have, and we'll use as an example, a 16-foot lowboy trailer. Everybody's familiar with them. A lot of people have them. They do the splicing normally, depending on manufacturer, but normally they do the splicing on the driver's side of the trailer, at the back by the tail lights, underneath the deck, by the frame. And they use these. Well, that's going to be open to water. Water leads to corrosion. Corrosion leads to resistance. Before you know it, you're burning out bulbs. One side's not working, it's flickering, and we've all seen trailers going down the road at night that don't have lights, or the lights that they have, only one side's working, or it's flickering and jumping around, and that's just not good. That's good for getting you a ticket. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that. But first I want to explain what these actually are. Again, these are 557s. Now, this one does not have the pass-through. A lot of the wiring that you're going to find on your trailers will have the pass-through. They'll have usually 2 holes on this side, and then on this side they'll have 2 additional holes which allow you to pass a wire completely through this, or maybe they'll have 2 holes on this side, 1 hole on this side, 1 pass through, and then 1 that you connect a wire and go out, say, to your lights. Okay. This is the piece that goes inside of this, just like this one. Now these little slots right here is what actually goes on your wire. It pierces through the insulation and actually touches the copper conductors that are inside the insulation, and it makes connection between here and the other side, or that's how you connect the wires together. Now the problem with this is when you put these together, the way that they're designed to be put together, they're fast, they're simple, but they only last for a certain amount of time, and that can become a problem down the road, a year, 2, 3 years down the road after you've bought a trailer. When you put the wires in there, take something, pair of, these are Kleins, but you can take some other type of channel locks or whatever you want to change, whatever you want to do. And if you look down in there, you'll see that start to pierce where it would start to pierce the wire. Squeeze it together like so. Once you've pierced your wire, snap this over, and there you have it. That's your connection. But the problem with this is all open to water. Water is going to get in there. Rain, all types of other things are going to get into that. When rain gets into that, it's going to cause corrosion. And that corrosion, because this is just bare metal, it's not stainless, it's not coated, it's not weather resistant. These are never designed by 3M to be outside in the weather. But this is what manufacturers use when they wire the tail lights on your trailer. And they use that because it's quick, it's simple, and time is money. And the more time they save, the more money they're going to make on the other end. But that leaves you at a disadvantage down the road, a year, 2 years, depending on how often you use the trailer. You're going to have lighting problems. It's just going to happen. So how do you fix that? Well, you get rid of these. You take these, you find out where your splices are in your trailer, and you cut them. Cut them out, and you heat shrink, solder and heat shrink your connections. I know, that's a lot of work. Not everybody has the ability to do it. But if you're going to be working on your own equipment, learning how to solder wire is something that you should learn how to do. It's not difficult. It just takes practice, and you can do it with no trouble at all. Now, these are just a couple little short wires, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to leave the insulation on them so that you can see the difference between them as far as colors are concerned. Once you strip your wires back, as far as soldering and heat shrinking them, what you want to do is you want to cross them like so, and then you want to twist them together like that, assuming that all of this is stripped and it's all copper conductors. Okay, then once you get that done, you've made the mechanical connection first by twisting them together. Even if you don't get solder to flow completely through the whole joint entirely, then you still have a mechanical connection. Then you take your heat shrink and you put your heat shrink over your connection. Obviously this needs to go on your wire first, and you pull it back down the wire out of the way once you get it soldered. Now this heat shrink is a little too big, but it demonstrates what I'm trying to explain. Then you put the heat shrink over the joint. You can use a heat gun, you can use a cigarette lighter, you can use one of those little small butane torches, crack torch. You can use those. It doesn't take a great deal of heat to shrink this on there. Shrink it on there real good, and once you have that connection done, then you're good to go. If you have more than one wire that you need to put in here, do the same thing. Strip them back, twist another wire in there. If you have, say, your running lights where they go from one feed from the tongue of the trailer down to the tail lights, and you have one goes to one side, one goes to the other, and you've got a main feed coming in, so you'll have 3 wires. You can do the same thing with that here. Once you put the heat shrink over the 2 wires that are on there, and we'll do this for demonstration purposes. Okay, so now I have 3 wires on there. You put your heat shrink over it. Once that heat shrink shrinks up correctly, you're still going to have a little bit of a gap in here. Water can still get down in there and still cause corrosion on your splice that you've made here. That's the purpose for soldering it. The heat shrink only insulates to keep it from shorting out against the frame or blowing a fuse on your truck or whatever the case might be. That's the only purpose of the heat shrink. Soldering is where your electrical connection comes together, and that's the important part. So soldering it, even if water gets down in there, doesn't matter because it's soldered. I've still got a connection there, and that connection is going to be good from now until the end of time. Especially if you're making a living with your trailer, if you're a hotshot driver and you're hauling trailers all over the place, it's something that you need to address, because if you don't address it, nobody wants a ticket from DOT. And DOT, no matter what state you're in, are prevalent with hotshot drivers. They love them because they know that they're not compliant everywhere that they go. And this will help you be compliant. And that's not to mention the safety issue of having somebody rear end you in the middle of the night, out in the middle of nowhere, because your trailer lights went out. Another thing that you can do, and what I have always done on all of my trailers, I do not use the ball to hitch ground. Most all your trucks these days have 7-way RV plugs. In that 7-way RV plug, there is a ground terminal. You can extend the ground from your truck to the trailer through that plug without having to use the ball to hitch ground. 90% of the trucks these days have receiver hitches on them. That receiver hitch is going to get corroded, and you're not going to get a ground, and when you're going down the road, you're going to see lights that are flickering or going out, or brake lights coming on for no reason when you've never hit the brakes, and that's what causes it, because you don't have a good enough ground. You have to have a good ground, and you have to have power in order for your lights to work. The connections that you make is extremely important. The making sure that you have a ground on your trailer at all times is also extremely important. Whether it's a gooseneck, whether it's a bumper pull, even if it's a fifth wheel, always get your ground to your trailer through your plug. If you don't have, all you have is a 4-way, then change it out. You'll be much better down the road. Yes, I realize I'm talking about spending money, I'm talking about taking time and doing things right, but you will only have to do it once. Case in point, I have a trailer that I built and wired probably 12 years ago now, 10, 12 years ago now, and every time I hook up to that trailer, I have lights. Every single time. I've never had to work on those lights since I replaced the wiring on it originally. I didn't have the money to do it when I built it, but once I did it the right way, and once I did it the way I explained it, I've never had to go back and do anything to that trailer as far as the lighting is concerned. So that is an example of what I'm talking about. So maybe you learned something from it, maybe you didn't.